Good morning, guys. January the 22nd here in Central Illinois, the most corrupt and broke state in the Union. Thank you. We got freezing rain today and tomorrow, so it's already nasty out there. I'm just waiting for the power to fail and see whether or not my generator is going to solve my problems for the short term. But until those things happen, excuse me, I have a frog in my throat. Until those things happen, I'll give you a little update and a little bit of playtime. The hill climber's coming real well. I've got this thing all balanced out. I have finally mounted the motor in it. We've got a 5-inch brass plate that's 64 thousandths thick, and it's 2 inches wide. And of course, the center screw is where the motor is. We've mounted it on an 1/8 of an inch bar stock that's 3 inches wide. That gives me my center. I don't know if you guys can see it, but I drew a center line on that. I measured it all out and drilled it, and then that allowed me to move that plate forward and back until I could get the power truck set exactly where I wanted it, so it looked proportional to the body. Now, the other end, which of course I haven't put a plate in, I'm short of brass stock, so I've got some on order. Hopefully I'll get it sometime this week. But what I've done is I've taken my calipers, and from the center of the screw where the motor mounts to the front, the very front where this finger is waving at you right here, that's 4 inches. So what I'll do is I will set this up down here at 4 inches. And then, if I remember correctly, when I used my calipers to measure from hole to hole, it's right at 6 inches. Initially, I had a piece of sheet stock that I put, it was 6 1/4 or 6 1/2, but that was a little bit too wide. So this is coming along quite nicely. Here again, I got to put supports up here because this is really flimsy. But there's the motor, and it pivots and swings just perfect. I've already, excuse me, I've already ran it, kinda. It kind of dog tracked down the track because nothing secured the back here. But I believe it's going to run quite well. So I'm looking forward to getting that sheet stock so that I can put that back truck on, and then we can start doing little shakedown cruises and adjust things as need be. The other thing that I'm working on, I was working on this last night. This is a Pride Lines trolley car O-gauge motor unit. And what I've done is, you've got one wheel like this on one side, but on the other side, you've got a geared wheel. Now I've taken and put this in my lathe. I've turned it down. I'm going to put it in a collet, and I'm going to face that. So when it's all said and done, I'm just going to basically have a gear. I will then take and drill down through the center of it, thread it, and put a set screw in it. That will allow me to slide it up and down the axle, which is, I believe, a 5/32, and then I can set the gear mesh, and also I got to extend the axle. I got to turn this axle into a standard gauge. This is an O-gauge axle. So that's what I'm doing on that, and so far it works real well. I've already tested the motor. The other thing that I've got on my mind, I picked up one of these Japanese friction. It's not a wind-up, but it's a friction car. Well, this thing is absolutely perfect for standard gauge. And what I'm thinking about doing is converting it into a rail inspection car. Now, I got 2 ways I can go. I might go with this, or I may take this post-war inspection car. I think it was like a 57 Chevy that they had it sitting on. But there's a lot of depth. There's a lot of depth in this body. What I'm trying to do is, I don't care about the outside. If I had to repaint the outside, that's all good and well. I can spray paint it and do whatever I have to do. But I wanted to keep the lithography, the seats, and the dashboard. So I'm hoping, and it looks like it will work. This is almost, basically, it's got the same footprint. This should roll up and slide right up in there. Now, I may have to take off the reverse unit, the E unit. It sits slightly higher than the motor, but I do believe I'll be able to set this body right down on top of it. And if I have to, there's plenty of side play here. If I have to take out the whole body, the bottom, I should be able to drill small holes and bolt this right to it. We'll see. I've been working on this for a while. I've been thinking about it, and it just seemed like it would be a really neat project to do. I mean, I'm not out any money. I gave $11 for this thing. So if it goes into the trash, why, it's just a great learning process. All right, the other thing I wanted to show you was a little bit of playtime here. Get this crap out of the way. Oh, by the way, this is what I secure the wheels to and set my gauge. This is this particular one is a 5/32 collet with a set screw. Makes it easy. You don't have to cut spacers for the wheels. You just set the gauge where you want it, tighten it down, and that's it. It's done. Easy peasy. All right. The second thing is, I don't know if you guys have ever seen it. I'm sure you have. But pre-war American Flyer 3/16 in O gauge. Now this was after Gilbert bought out American Flyer. I think they called it True Scale. But there was a time when I was really kind of hot for this 3/16. Well, this is all I've ever gotten bought. And this, after the war, same cars, they just made it into S gauge. So, excuse me, I got me a Pennsy locomotive and a bunch of sheet metal cars. And they also made a series of die cast. Now, I've got the cattle car, but they had a cattle car, they had a caboose, they had a gondola, and I think they had an oil car, but I'm not sure. You know how it is. You kind of get the bit between your teeth and you want all this stuff. Well, I started collecting it, but I soon found other things I wanted to do, and I lost interest in it. So this is all I've got in the 3/16, but it is rather cool. But like I say, there's 3/16, there's Flyer O gauge, there's Flyer Standard. And, and let's face it, sitting on this double gauge track, the Flyer 3/16 looks absolutely tiny. So I'll tell you what we're going to try and do. Every once in a while, I'll set this stuff up and I'll run standard gauge and O gauge all on the same track. I've got a set of Lionel engines. I think they were the switchers. That they were perfectly paced with a 390 that I had. So I could pull an O gauge train and a standard gauge train, and they stayed about 180 degrees away from each other. And they do that for a long time. Unfortunately, this 3/16 is a whole lot faster than this American Flyer standard gauge engine, even though its wheels are huge. So after about one loop, that's why I've got him right up next to each other. After about one loop, why, they're done. He wants to ass in the standard gauge. So we'll see how this works out. Now, hopefully there'll not be a catastrophe. Well, of course, there won't be, because I won't show it to you if there is. All right. Something else you'll notice on that 3/16 when it's running, and it looks like it's trying to kill snakes. Those wheels are spinning like you would not believe. All right, as you can see, it's a quick little thing. And since it's a worm gear drive, when you cut the power to it, it stops. So there's the standard gauge right there in front of it. So I couldn't go a whole lot farther. But the 3/16 is fun to run. It just, when you turn it on high power, it just seems like it's working extra hard. But you got to admit, the locomotive and stuff, it's actually a nice looking scale. It really is. So that's what we're doing on this snowy, well, not snowy, but rainy, icy day. I hope you guys have a good week. We got freezing rain through tomorrow, but then warmer in the 40s. So this is what's keeping me busy. This is what's keeping me out of the truck stops. This is what's keeping me out of jail. So we'll talk with you later. Toodaloo.